the school board meetings are continuing, right? And parents have been ticked off about CRT in the schools and the radical trans ideology in the schools and like the totally inappropriate sex messaging for the kids in the schools. And all the while we're keeping our kids muzzled behind these masks nonstop when we know it's bullshit. Though, especially the cloth masks, which is what all the kids wear, right? So this dad goes, this is upstate New York. His name is Dave Callis. And he gets tossed from a school board meeting this week because he refused to put his mask on, and the security guard went after him like he had just committed a felony. Watch this.
Oh, they found him. Look they found him.
We're in America.
Oh, time to look at this. Look at this. Look. What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Is this how you treat our children? What are you doing? Do you put your hands on the children like that, too, sir?
Holy crap! That's assault. That is assault. Oh my God!
Is that what they're doing to the children?
Oh my God!
Doing that to the children too?
Holy shit! What the fuck are you doing?
I know where.
What are you doing?
That's ridiculous. Yeah, honestly, you would have thought he was some sort of a kidnapper.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm uncomfortable saying publicly what I think should happen to some of these people. And, it's like we were saying before, like they're pushing people, it's like they had that whole, like, the Justice Department said the thing about them being terrorists and stuff like this, the concerned parents, which of course is like absurd and so appalling on its face. But now I have kids. I have two. They're very young. They're below school age right now. But I can kind of understand a little bit more that you might make that terrorist claim come true at some point. You're messing with people's children. This is something that people will die for. This is not a joke. This is like, if you're talking about you want to muzzle my child and propagandize them with an ideology that I detest. That is something that is actually worth dying for. And I'm truly concerned about how far they can push good people before they will do things, And of course, I'm not advocating anything like that.
No, you're raising a red flag saying that you don't want to see it happen.
Right. But it's like this, it really is like the mix of everything, what they're doing. There's a lot of things that people can put up with, but you don't come after someone's children. And what they're doing to children is just, it's I can't express how appalling it is.
Yeah, I know. And you're right, because you take a man like that, he's not bothering anybody. He's sitting there. He doesn't have his mask on. And in New York State, as of Wednesday, the indoor mask mandate was lifted anyway, right? But he happened to be in a school, and they haven't lifted another school. Well, that's for the children. You're telling me that guy just randomly sitting, he can sit next door in a restaurant and with the same amount of people, and that's fine. But him choosing not to put it on at the school board meeting makes it somehow extra, viral. He knew that was bullshit. So he took a stand. The cop could have gone over the cop. I used to date the son of a cop, and they used to call these sort of pretend cops square badges. So he would have said that square badge. The square badge goes over to him, give him a little bit of power. He becomes drunk on it and decides to tear the father out of there like he's really committed a harm. And that man's children go to that school. You're right. And think about how that makes him feel. And we're coming off of 2 years now of people being shamed for speaking their mind. Michael Brendan Doherty had a great term on the National Review earlier today. Hold on, I wrote it down because it's we've heard the argument made, but I just like the way he put it. He was talking about Canada. He said they tried to cast the normal left-wing culture spells on the truckers. You're racist, you're bigots. I like that. The normal left-wing culture spells. And that's what they do to any parent who speaks up, whether it's about masking or vaxxing or CRT or the trans stuff. And parents, they are at their breaking point. The kids are at their breaking point. And it's only the politicians coming to grips with that is finally changing the policies.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think what we were talking about before kind of touches on this same thing, where it's like the contempt for working class and lower middle class Americans. I mean, I know like you've publicly talked about pulling your kids out of the crazy schools in New York.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate that like my career is going very well. I have a lot of options of what I can do. My children will not be in this situation. But if you're, a working class parent who's already just getting hit really hard with property taxes, you may not have the financial option to do anything else because, of course, you're already forced to pay for the public schools. Maybe you can't afford to move. You can't afford private school. You can't afford these other options. So those people are the ones who are stuck with this. And of course, we know, I mean, we could spend the entire rest of the show just listing progressive Democrats, who send their kids to private schools. It's like all of them. And so, again, this is who it falls on. This is who it falls squarely on, is these like lower middle class, working class parents who have no other options but to confront this. And I give that dad credit for not clocking that guy. He would have been completely within his rights to. He demonstrated, I think, a good amount of restraint. So good for him for that.
Crazy to witness. Yes, I did pull my kids, and I have to say we had a really interesting guy in the show last week he wrote a whole book about how people sort of naturally go along with the group mentality. It's a human instinct to want to belong to the group. It's a survival instinct. It's baked in us, whether we want it or not. And it's the thing that makes you not say your opinion when you think the majority is not going to share my opinion. And he was saying, study after study shows like if you say your opinion, you will find out you're probably not in the minority. You probably are the majority. There is a silent majority on a lot of these issues, and you need only speak up and try to see whether it's true. And I will tell you, I haven't told a story, but just this week, I moved my kids. My husband and I moved our kids to new schools. We moved out of New York City because of this stuff. And my daughter's school needs a new head of school because the existing head she's leaving. She's been there a long time. She's, I think, retiring. So they're looking for a new head of school. So we're a little concerned, right? It's like, I don't know what we're going to get. This is what actually happened at my boys' old school. They got a new head of school, and he was this far left guy who was very woke and completely changed the curriculum. So I don't want to see that happen. So we had a parental Zoom talking about what we all want. This is with the search committee in the new head of school. And I will tell you, there's definitely a point in my life at which I would not have said how I felt because I would have been worried. People would have thought, oh, I'm standing on an issue that's, I'm somehow against diversity or something. But I said explicitly, I did it. I said, this is my name. This is how I feel. We pulled our kids from these schools because DEI, while it has a nice name, diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's actually really toxic. It's leading to massive division within parents in our old school and children within our own school. The school Dalton now, I have a friend who goes there. The students are sitting by race at lunchtime. They're sitting by race. So I'm like, we don't want that. We're not looking for, quote, a change agent. We actually think things here are going well, and we don't want somebody coming in and forcing their ideological politics on our children or our parent body. And, you put yourself out there a little, right? Lo and behold, you know what happened, Dave? Other parents started raising their hands and saying, we agree. We agree. We agree. It wasn't unanimous, but I felt supported. And I was like, the guy was right. You need the guy to take the mask off. You need the parents to stand up. You need the person to say the things that are unpopular or that you think are.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I completely agree with that. That's really beautiful, and it reminds me. There's this story in the Soviet Union. I believe it was in 1988, but internet people, you could double check me on that. I might have
internet
the year
people
a little bit off. You guys, they always figure out if you get something wrong. They always
yes.
let you know. I'll find out on Twitter. But it was the Pope came and visited the Soviet Union. And he hadn't come in a very long time because, as you know, the commies were not too friendly with religion. And hundreds of thousands of people came out to see him. And a lot of people who were living in the Soviet Union at the time credit this as being like a big game changer, because it's not just that they came out, but they saw that so many other people still held these like religious views that they were kind of holding secretly because they were afraid of the regime. And there's something about that, like that really, because you're right, we do have this instinctual desire because of course it makes perfect sense as a survival mechanism. You don't want to be, ostracized. Being ostracized by the group means you die in most of human history. So of course you don't want that. But as soon as you realize that there's numbers with you, people become much more courageous. And so I do think what we need are people doing what you did there. We need people to be like, okay, I'm going to be the first one who's going to stand up and say something. And that can really like lead a lot of other people to be comfortable to say, yeah, we agree with that too. And I just, the thing is like this game that they play, this trickery where it's like, well, we're just for diversity and equity and inclusion and all of this. It's like, no, what I am passionately against, that I will make sure my little girl and my little boy never grow up believing in, is racialism, because it's poisonous. It's so poisonous to see people as defined by their immutable characteristics. The whole point of the history of like the racist movements and anti-racist movements is that the anti-racist movements were always saying race shouldn't be that important. And it shouldn't be the center of the first thing you think about now, of course, you never achieve that completely, but you'd like to, as best as possible, achieve a world where like my kids look at some kid and that's not the thing they think of as being the most important defining characteristic about them. They just like judge them as an individual. And so that's what the whole thing is against. It's against this latest form of racialism, which is, it's like pure poison.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.